Now, folks, if you'll just gather around a little closer now. Come right in a little closer. That's it. That's fine, folks.
All right, let's go, because you know what I came in to do.
I don't get paid for overtime. I'm here to fight.
Right, guys. Just been thinking. We're in the gym, just done a mad session Wednesday. I've won every single belt in boxing, apart from one belt. And that belt is the Central Area Heavyweight Championship of Britain. So I'm calling out whoever's the Central Area Heavyweight Champion. I'm calling you out, because that's my belt. I want it. I haven't got it. It's the only belt that I haven't won, and I want it. I'm coming for whoever you are. Come on!
You know, it's scary, the information you retain in your head. Like, I confirmed it on BoxRec, but I got it right. Tyson Fury's old man challenged for the Central Area title against Neil Malpaz. And I know he lost. I couldn't remember how he lost. How do I retain all that shit in my head? You'll be surprised what stays in your head and the stuff you forget. So, he's trying to get the belt that his old man failed to get back in the day. The Central Area belt. Chris Healy actually fought on the undercard of Fury versus Dillian Whyte at Wembley. Fury probably forgot and didn't even notice the undercard was that poor. He was a to-be-announced late notice against David Adilier. He got stopped. And I was thinking to myself, wow, they may have well as cancelled David's bout because he was so out of shape. And even when he gets time to prepare, he's not in shape, Chris Healy. You know, he's lost his last 4 fights. The Central Area title has never been a big deal. There's never been a world champion, a British world champion, who's looked to fight for an area title unless they've really went down the pecking order, which Tyson Fury hasn't. He's still unbeaten. WBC champ. But it's no surprise. He spoke about going on some bum of the month tour like Joe Louis. What he fails to realize is Joe Louis was fighting ranked contenders. The press decided to call them bums because they couldn't compete with Joe. And there was a lot of discrimination going on at that time in boxing. A lot of black fighters couldn't get ranked to get a shot against Joe. The likes of Obi Walker, Violent El Murray. And a lot of people misconstrue the facts behind what they call Joe Louis's Bum of the Month tour. So Chris won the Southern Area title in June of last year. A narrow verdict over Danny Whitaker over 10 rounds. It was 4-2-0. And Chris has went on to lose his next 4 fights. So I don't know when the committee are going to schedule him to take on a mandatory. They might not have nobody suitable because, you know, Danny Whitaker 4-2-0 going into the fight with Chris is now 5-4-0. He's lost to David Adilier as well. He's lost to Johnny Fisher. He lost his last 4 on the bounce. So the gene pool of fighters contesting for a Central Area title is not highly impressive. Let's just say that. I've got no reason not to believe that Tyson Fury ain't serious. This is the only belt he hasn't won. He's won the Irish, he's won British. Did he win the Commonwealth title? He probably did. European, he's definitely won European, British, like I said, WBC, WBA, IBF, WBO, and now he wants to add the Northern Area title, which is a belt, you know, he would have fought for in his first 10 fights as a pro, really and truly. That ship went and sailed a long time ago. You know, like them Western Area, Northern Area, Central and Eastern Area titles haven't been that relevant. I think the Southern Area titles, which is based around London and the outer regions of London, have been more consistent. Like Neil Kirkwood, he had the title in 1995 and it lay dormant for 21 years until Nathan Gorman, Tyson Fury's cousin, fought for it in 2016 and beat David Howe. 21 years. And then Nathan never kept hold of it. He beat David Howe in October 2016, vacated it, I'm assuming. Cash Ali fought for it in March of 2018. Whatever he did with it, and he beat the same guy Nathan Gorman beat, David Howe. This is how lowly the belt is. David Howe challenged for it in 2016 and lost. And within the 1.5 year gap that he challenged for it again, he lost again. So they're telling me that within a year and a half, they couldn't find a better challenger. That's how the gene pool is for people challenging for that title. It's crazy to suggest that you want to fight for that belt. It's crazy. You know, he could have easily fought for it on his debut, Tyson Fury. But they probably didn't even have a challenger for him in 2008, 2009. I mean, since his dad challenged Neil Malpaz in 1989 for it, there's been 6 fights. in, what was it, 33 years. 33 years. What's really scary is the enthusiasm Tyson Fury has to try and win that belt.
So I'm calling out whoever's the Central Area Heavyweight Champion. I'm calling you out. Because that's my belt. I want it. I haven't got it. It's the only belt that I haven't won and I want it. I'm coming for whoever you are. Come on!
Growing up watching boxing, them belts were very relevant. Northern area, Central, Western, Eastern. They were relevant, and you'd pick up the boxing news and you'd always see fight reports about these titles. But when the English title became a thing, and then the sanctioning bodies have got all these intercontinental, this, that, and international belts, them belts sort of like fell out of flavour, let's say. They're still active, but they're not as relevant to British boxing as they once was. Now, should I point out another Tyson Fury contradiction? Why not? Another one for the book. Well, this week Tyson Fury's been telling us that Joe Joyce, who asked for the December the 3rd date with Tyson Fury, is not popular as his wife. The exact quote, Tyson Fury on Joe Joyce, can he beat the Gypsy King? Probably not, but I'd like to see it one day. I said to Joe, you've got like 150,000 followers. You need to build your profile. Fury said his wife has 1 million, so she's more popular than the top 10 heavyweights. So basically, he can't give Joe Joyce a fight because Joe is not popular enough, but he can fight the Central Area champion, whose name he didn't even know. He didn't even know that Chris Healy fought on the card of his last fight. He didn't even know that. So, another one for the book. And a lot of people are going to laugh it off like he always contradicts himself. What's new? It's kind of cute, isn't it? No, it's not. No, it's not actually. It's foul. It's disrespectful to Joe Joyce. It's an insult to the intelligence of real boxing fans. Joe Joyce and Tyson Fury is a stadium fight in the United Kingdom. Yes, it is. It's not an arena fight. It's a stadium fight. Joe's still unbeaten, Olympic silver medalist. In fact, did better as an amateur than Tyson Fury. Has a career best win, first man to stop Joseph Parker, and at this stage here, he is more relevant to the heavyweight division than Derek Chisora. He's on the same promotional banner as Tyson Fury. Easy fight to make. Tyson don't want to make it. Frank don't want to make it. Why? So let's not go there, yeah? Nobody wants to see a third Derek Chisora fight, a man who Fury has beat twice. A new, fresh opponent like Joyce, IBF mandatory, 6'6", great chin, cardio, good puncher, is a way more appetizing prospect than this fight here. So let's not go there, yeah? Anthony Joshua's fought all his mandatories. You got Povetkin, you got Pulev, Usyk. The Pulev and Usyk fights were consecutive. Fights all his mandatories. This guy is trying to fight the number 14 ranked heavyweight in the sanction body. There's no comparison. And then Frank Warren had the nerve to tell the public that here's 2 fights for you, AJ. You can fight Dubois or Joyce. But yet, you won't match up Dubois or Joyce, who are all on the same banner as Tyson Fury, with Tyson Fury. Out of curiosity, I'm wondering how much Joseph Parker versus Joe Joyce did pay-per-view numbers. But we move on. Josh Taylor has brought in Joe McNally as his new trainer after opting to part ways with Ben Davison. Now, in 2020, Ben Davison replaced Shane McGuigan, a decision that outraged Barry McGuigan and Shane after all the effort they put in to Josh Taylor. Now, off the top, I remember Joe McNally being with David Price. He trained Liam Smith, Anthony Fowler from Liverpool, so mostly Liverpool boxers he's been associated with. I'd have to dig for more additional information why it happened, but you would assume it was on the back of that Jack Catterall performance. Perhaps he didn't click with Ben in that camp, although the weight seemed to have a telling effect on how he performed as well, but who can say? Maybe Ben just didn't prepare him properly for that southpaw posture that Jack Catterall came with, and the rematch shouldn't be too far away. Apparently they've got a date and location, but they haven't revealed it to the press or the public. Josh Taylor becoming a bit of a trainer hopper though. So, let me get this right, British Boxing Google under control. You vetoed Lucas Brown because he's 43 years of age, and instead you went for Kevin Lerena, who's 30 years of age. So basically, Kevin's age got him the fight over Lucas Brown, because from what I'm seeing by the WBA rankings, Lucas Brown is ranked number 11 and Kevin Lerena is ranked number 13. Now you're going to take sanctioning fees from the WBA, which means you respect their rankings, or you should respect their rankings. You've allowed the number 13 to get a fight over number 11 because of age. Now Kevin's a small heavyweight, cruiserweight basically. He's managed to bulk up to 233 against Marius Wak, South African. He's beat Marius Wak and Bogdan Dinu. Guys like Fidat Arslan, who was a decent fighter but was washed by 2020. His prime was at cruiser when he fought Marco Huck and had some controversial fights with him. I don't think Kevin is the worst fighter, but you can't be saying you want to fight Dillian White, right? You want to fight Dillian and then you fight Kevin Lerena. If you're calling out these guys here, you should be fighting people in the top 5. You should be fighting Martin Bakole. Is who you should be fighting. Ranked number 4. Michael Hunter. Mark Muldov. But then again, you know, Trevor Bryan is still ranked number 8. So I guess you could justify Frank and Daniel doing this fuck shit here. Daniel Dubois, according to the Queensberry website, is the heavyweight champion of the world. Not the interim heavyweight champion of the world. They're billing him as the champion of the world according to the WBA. Not Alexander Usyk. So if you're going to do this, Frank, we've got to address it. If he's the champion of the world, and tell the same thing to Tyson Fury, who's fighting the 14th ranked guy, according to the WBC, with Derek Chisora. I won't pay for it, but I'll watch. So, who knows, maybe you could fight Lucas Brown in Australia or something. Or maybe Frank could talk to the board. Fight Lucas Brown in the copper box, Freza Quendo, and we can start talking about how he's the real deal. Calling out Dillian. Frank ain't paying out no Dillian White purses for Daniel Dubois. It's clout chasing. But some of you don't know nothing about Frank Warren and how he tries to maneuver fighters and avoid hard fights and will spin and PR the shit out of the situation so like you will believe all the bullshit he's telling you.
Whatever Frank offered me, I'd say yes or no, and I never said no. When I won the European title fight, I was supposed to fight the number 1 contender for the European was Alexander Frankel. Alexander Frankel was an absolute killer of a man. I think he had 28 fights, 28 wins, 27 knockouts, 25 in the first round. So Frank said, look, we'll sidestep it. I said, oh, what's this sidestepping? He said, no, he's an absolute killer. You know, no one wants to fight. And he didn't. No one wanted to fight him. He was sort of higher regarded than the Kovalev. He was that sort of level. And I said, I'm not ducking no one. I'll go in there and I'll smash him. And I watched his videos and he was devastated. But I didn't care. I said, I will smash him. So we went out to Birmingham and...
Now, whether you want to believe Enzo Macronelli's testimony, he's telling you Frank's trying to get him to swerve his mandatory, Frankel, who eventually knocked Macronelli out. Why do you think Joe Calzaghe took so long to get definitive fights against Hopkins and Roy Jones? Why do you think? And I'm telling you, Mr. Know-It-Alls out there, Frank is not going to let Daniel fight anyone with a pulse until he gets to fight for the full belt. You know what I mean? You guys criticizing Dillian every second. Dillian has never been no interim champion, but I'm telling you, his resume is way better. Way better. Let me tell you something, right? Until I see Daniel fight at least the Bakole, you never get my money. Never. But then again, I know boxing. And a lot of these pro-Warren, anti-Hearn guys, they really don't know boxing. They really don't. Frank knows he's not going to pay out for an opponent like Dillian. He's not going to pay out for that. Yeah? Martin Bakole, Frank could afford a Martin Bakole. But he's not going to pay out because Daniel will get beaten up. There's rumours that Martin Bakole used to handle Daniel in sparring. Handle it. Don't get me wrong. Eddie convinced Lee Wood to swerve the Mexican who knocked out Warrington. It's a duck. All promoters do this. But at least they're trying to fight Santa Cruz and maybe a Conlon rematch, which is a higher standard of opponent that Daniel Dubois is fighting. Why isn't he trying to avenge the Joe Joyce loss? Why not?
I know the people happy to hear you, man, and great spirit.
You see what's going on with Showtime?
What's happening? What the fuck happening?
With boxing?
Nigga, what's happening? Tell everybody.
That shit damn near over with.
Showtime?
Yeah.
How the fuck?
They talking about Steven Espinoza done. Man, they saying that boxing shit over with Showtime.
What the fuck?
Yeah, there's some crazy shit going on, man. We about to be fighting on Twitter. Man, we about to be fighting on Twitter.
They just almost made snot on Twitter.
Yeah. Nah,
They
don't
be
say
funny,
that.
dog.
Showtime ain't going through shit like that, man. Mm-hmm.
I know everybody knows it's you.
Hell yeah, I know, man. It's getting bad, bro. They can't even promise Earl and Terrence no guarantees. The fuck?
Wow. This Adrian Broner talking about is basically a rap for Showtime. So he's hearing stories, rumors from what would have to be credible sources. Bob Arum, in 2018, he predicted the demise for Showtime after HBO pulled out in 2018 and said that Showtime will be following shortly after, but they're still here. But you have to wonder, like, all the fights they've been putting on pay-per-view and for exorbitant prices as well. Ortiz versus Charles Martin, Andy Ruiz versus Ortiz. Seems to be all fights with Ortiz in them. They can't guarantee Terence Crawford and Errol Spence the money they would like. Steven Espinoza tried to assure the fans that, oh, we're still in negotiation. Negotiations for what? Terence Crawford left Top Rank when? Ages ago. Negotiating what? You had $40 million for Canelo, and you can't make a fight that costs a fraction of that? There's a few people hating on that Mike Coppinger tweet and that video he done with Max Kellerman, but is there more to it? Like he's saying, why would he just come out and throw slander on them? Looks like a lot of what he was saying was true. The Ruiz-Ortiz numbers, the Martin-Ortiz numbers, and their pay-per-views, but they've done a batch of pay-per-views that have been unsuccessful. A whole load. They're overpricing them. Bob Arum told them not to overprice the pay-per-views. He cited Crawford and Spence and lowered the pricing. Are they going to follow HBO? When's the last time you see Jamal Charlo in the ring? You know, he's talking about Canelo. What about your mandatory? Adames. He knocked out Montiel, who gave Jamal all types of problems. How about fighting him? How about the PBC making that fight? Fight your mandatories, man. I mean, I ain't seen Gary Russell since he lost the title. Wasn't like he got battered. It was a close decision. You would have thought he'd be back now. What about Boots Ennis? When's the last time I see him fight? Thomas Delorme? Was that last year? Is Keith Thurman going to fight again? They're going to get him a fight? The inactivity over there is a severe issue. You can go check Fred from Barbershop Conversations. He can detail it better. It looks like Paramount, Showtime are having issues. Like Paramount are not happy with Showtime's performance, and a few big executives have gone. And we're not just talking boxing, we're talking about the whole network. So, as you heard AB say, Steven Espinoza is on his way out, but we'll see. The cancellation of sporting events after the big event 5 weeks ago took a lot of steam off the momentum of Shields and Marshall. And obviously in the UK we've had Connorgate going on for the next 2 weeks that put pay to DAZN's big event. It was going to be a huge event, man. That can't be understated how huge it was going to be. And that's kind of put Shields and Marshall to the side in boxing talk. And they've got today, Thursday, as I'm recording, and Friday and Saturday to pick it up. Pick up some pay-per-view buys. The arena, I assume, is sold out. You got Baumgardner and Mayor, another big fight on the card. Them two really don't like each other. Really don't. Sky can't afford no slip-ups here. Anyone popping or anything calling the fight off again, they can't afford that. Just be a bad period for British boxing if this event didn't go ahead. But, 5 weeks ago, it had the whole Saturday for itself. Whether that was competition from Europe or America, there was nothing on. It was just Shields and Marshall, Baumgardner, Mayor. But this week, they've got Wilder, Hellenius, Haney, Kambosos. It should still be a good event. Shields said she's put on muscle to either absorb Marshall's power or increase her own power. It's going to be a statement fight, she said. She said she's going to knock Savannah out. If she sacrifices speed to try and bang with the more natural banger, she's going to end up on her back. Maybe in her mind she doesn't want to acknowledge the threat that Savannah poses, but that's not a good idea. That's not a good idea at all. But we have to see how Savannah copes under pressure if Shields does choose to fight that fight, because in all truth, I don't know how strong the gene pool is at middleweight for women. But I've never seen no woman really give Savannah a test, in all truth. Maybe Shields is that opponent. So, should be a good fight. It's hard to tell who's more wound up out of Michaela Mayor and Alicia Baumgardner. Baumgardner got very powerful looking arms and legs, and she can punch. She looks like the more obvious puncher. But Michaela, she can crack a little. She's got the range, the longer arms, longer legs. And she proves she can stand in there and fight with strong fighters like she did with Hamadouche and won. But she's so wound up now that she wants to go in there and maybe fight a fight that takes away her own physical advantages. I mean, they had to be pulled apart on the Sky Shoulder program. Like, they went to throw hands right there and there. Michaela says that Baumgardner hasn't done anything in boxing. She hasn't earned the right to be here, and that she was a failure at amateur. Baumgardner's saying, well, you're just a straight up and down boxer. You can't box. You don't have the skills I have. And it's very intense. Very intense. The most intense I've probably seen it between women, but I haven't seen as much women's boxing as some of you. So that's another good contest. Looking forward to it. For years, Hughie Fury had that acne issue. It's called acne conglobate, and it was basically poisoning his blood, which left him with a lot of side effects. A lot of the side effects coming from the prescribed medicine he had to take to try and clear it up. It left his energy levels depleted, and he has pulled out of a lot of fights due to illness. And I always said that the body can recover from the acne conglomerate if you're a regular citizen. You can function relatively well, but for a boxer, a pro boxer at top level, it's not ideal, is it? And I always said I believe Hughie's immune system may be a little compromised for his career, and I'm not saying it is, but he pulled out for the second time, I believe, of the Michael Hunter fight, which was a WBA eliminator with long COVID. And at 28 and a fight with COVID, you have to wonder, you know, if he is destined to be a top heavyweight. You really have to wonder. Michael Hunter, he showed a lot of promise not too long ago, but after Eddie, unjustly in my opinion, dropped him from the Matchroom roster, his career has just spiraled from the supposed boogeyman to the guy who ducked Tagovich to the guy who can't get a break right now. I mean, he's 34. I think a lot of people look at him like he's a young, upcoming guy. No, he's 34. I don't see that fight getting rescheduled because when's Hughie getting back? And Michael surely would have to move on. Maybe get another opponent to contest that WBA eliminator. Devin climatized pretty well in Australia last time out against Kambosos, and if there's any unforeseen things that I can't see, he should retain his belts. I was going to say belts, his undisputed collection. Kambosos needs a good start. If he can't get a good start and get the crowd behind him, Devin basically uses him as a sparring session, and George not being a one-punch knockout artist he can hit, it would be a huge upset if the belts stay in Melbourne on Saturday. Devin's dad was talking about Devin getting a stoppage. Could do. I believe he's just maturing as a pro right now. Hasn't hit his prime, but points is the likely outcome. Lopsided points victory for Devin Haney. Some people say George can't do any worse than he did in the first fight. And that may be true, but we got to factor in that Devin can possibly perform better than he did in the first fight, even though he won clearly. You got to factor that in. Movement and jab and the ability to nullify Kambosos inside are all in Devin's favour. So there you go with that one. But hopefully for George he can be more competitive, and for the fans, for all of us watching the fight as well. If you can make it more competitive, be a better spectacle to look at. More Frank Warren confusion. So they have a 28th of January date for Anthony Yarde to challenge Beterbiev for his 3 straps. Location yet to be confirmed, but it's assumed it will be in London. Now, when people like myself were saying Frank needs to give Anthony a run out, a warm up, a tune up, I was saying maybe even 2 tune ups for that year. He said he's not going to risk Yarde in case he gets cut or injured or anything happens in the fight, and he scuppers his opportunity to fight Beterbiev. Now, Beterbiev had a surgery that I'm assuming he's recovering from, and he's in training camp for Yarde, so the fight had to be rescheduled, and we just got the new date, New Year. Well, what's the difference now? Why are you going to give him a run out on an undercard of Daniel Dubois versus Kevin Lereno, why are you going to risk him against whoever you put him in with? I'm assuming it's not going to be a highly ranked guy. It's just going to be a run out, try and shed some ring rust. What's the difference now? Why are you going to risk him now and you wouldn't risk him then that he could get injured or cut? I don't get it. Well, perhaps the answer is he's been out of the ring for nearby a year by the time he fights on Daniel Dubois' undercard. So he needs a little run out. Well, in my opinion, he needed that run out in May when Tyson Fury fought. He needed to run out there. Because since he fought Kovalev in 2019, he's fought 4 times. And the comeback opponent after Kovalev, let's keep it real. Yeah, he was 4-48-3. 4-48-3. Dex Spellman, a bit of a step up, but it was easy work for Yard. Then he lost to Lyndon Arthur, and then he took on someone named Alan Theran and blew him away late last year. It's just been an unproductive, wasted year, in my opinion, in terms of his prospects of beating BETERBIEV. Let's hope that gym work has really paid dividends to give him a chance of beating BETERBIEV. If they lose this and Yard gives a stellar effort, they're going to kick themselves, because BETERBIEV is in his late 30s. He's getting injured quite a bit right now. And I'm not saying he's there for the taking, but this is when you have to be at your sharpest in your prime to exploit them aging champions. If they get caught out by lack of experience and they haven't taken the fights to tune Yard up and sharpen him as much as possible, they're going to kick themselves. Let's hope that's not the case. Let's hope the fight doesn't get rescheduled again. Let's hope it goes through this time.